Guys, Blue Otter are so back. 13-8. It's not over until we go to Lotus. But Vans, things changed up when we had a Jet versus Jet matchup.
Definitely. When we looked at the game too, it was on the defensive side that Blue Water found a lot of that success too, and on their map pick. And it's not surprising because it is a map they love playing. And most of the teams that will play against them will want to take the quote unquote easier side, which is starting off on the attack. So you have to make sure that you have good protocols on your defensive side just to make sure that your opponents cannot get the right timings or the right executions on a map like Haven. And I loved how they leveraged Zeldris into a perfect system and played around his util instead of being more reactive on what happened on Bind before. So I saw Zeldris take so many forward positions, and then the initiator util came right after to allow Zeldris to get a one and done from time to time, but the util was good enough to get more kills around and more space to fight. So a little bit of a change of how they approached it from the Bind side that looked really good.
Yeah, a lot of that give and take, right? And just forcing out some of that utility earlier on from that side of SAD. And I think you also saw a little bit of the difference between how Blue Otter were able to take space both on defense and on the attacking side. When you look towards Bob versus Dip, that Sova versus Tejo pick, yeah, sure. The drone from the Sova, you got the recon from the Sova as well. That's really good at pushing the Zeldris off of some of those angles, but that's breakable utility there as well, where Zeldris would often have some of that follow-up, whether it was Zeke that he was playing alongside or Bob that he was playing alongside, and just being able to take down that util so he could continue to post up on some of those angles. Meanwhile, a lot less forgiving when you're on the side of SAD Esports to actually try and post up on some of those choke points, because you've got Bob with some of that re-clear utility in addition with those missiles just to clear out those very common angles being held.
Just didn't know how much of an impact like both these duels were gonna have. Like, they went crazy. Zeldris officially got the 30 bomb in that one. Ferbsa just like right behind, leading in those first kills. 6 for Zeldris, 5 for Ferbsa. Like, and I like that you had Zeldris really step up after Ferbsa literally played Farm Simulator in our last match. But is this just like a preference on Ray's Vans? Is it just Zeldris being able to keep up on Jet better? Or is this just like a comfort map pick for Blue Otter?
I think the approach around utilizing initiator utility to push Ferbza away is a lot easier on a map like Haven, just because of how long and tight those corridors are for jet lines to try to hold. And it's kind of obvious when you're trying to fight for space. One smoke blocks the whole area, one fault line clears out a whole line. You saw in these moments as well on the defensive side that Ferbsa wasn't also able to get as many operators as possible. So that was also taken advantage of against them, as Blue Water had a lot of like triple swings outside of C-Long, which did not give SAD Esports any opportunities to have good holds on C site nor good retakes.
And I know Ash especially, we were really impressed with Blue Otter's defense, being able to kick off that half 8-4. And I know you wanted to specifically zoom in on round 9.
Yeah, I think that we were talking a little bit about that macro coming out from Blue Otter. I think that being able to start out so strong in that first half, 8-4 on a map like Haven, where it does tend to be a little bit more attacker-sided with how thinly spread the defense is, they managed it really nicely. You can see some of these op rounds that Vans was talking about. Zeldris taking this short position here, and he's about to get crunched. SAD have a really good idea of how they want to go and try and deal with Zeldris' op, and the response is immediate from Blue Otter. You saw Bob push up through mid, and she goes to try and help Zeldris out in that position, and then it puts SAD in the spot where they were originally trying to isolate Zeldris on that island, and they managed to actually become the ones that are kind of stuck like fish in a barrel here on this A site.
And that's why I like I like to coin a word here that Roy likes to use a lot. It's cerebral, right? You have good cerebral players on all 10 of these players. So the fact that Bob was able to get so much value down towards middle was because as she was walking out, she heard the camera being thrown towards short A. Therefore, most of the times, if you don't see an owl drone come out from the barrier or a camera come out, they're most likely trying to default on extremities and maybe not trying to get too much information here towards window and grass. So it allows here for Bob to walk down and start engaging the big read that she had for Blue Water.
And we'll see if they got the right reads for our final map. It's going to be Lotus no, everyone left this floating, but I think there's going to be one team who's walking into this more confident than the other, and we'll get to agent select when it's ready. But I think, guys, we're expecting a raised mirror going into this. So is the ball back in Ferbsa's court, Ash? Like, are we team Ferbs on the raise, or is this like really a 50-50?
I think there is a world where it's a little bit 50-50 if you're looking specifically towards the Raze versus Raze. I think both of these players, whether it's Ferbsa or Zeldris, have a lot of impact on this role. They're great at taking that space, doing a lot of damage value with the nades and like clearing out those angles and going for those wombo combos when it comes down to the breach that adds like so much value to that type of composition. And my eyes get more drawn towards the fact that I think you look at for Sad, it's previously a more old style comp that they're running. We saw them running that Cypher and Sova comp that was pretty popular for a couple of teams pulling that out in 2024. But ever since the Cypher nerfs, we don't see the Cypher being played on Lotus nearly as frequently. Teams are favoring more of like that Vice comp here and there, now shifting away from that meta. And the Sova was imperative to that meta because he was so big on breaking those trips. But if you're running the Vice, it's not nearly as helpful and not nearly as good as like reclaiming some of that space, especially that rubble control that you usually see teams fighting for early on into a lot of these rounds, where that Teho and the Breach instead that Blue Water are running are much stronger on that regard.
Yeah, just to reiterate the score that both these teams have faced in their last visit on Lotus, Blue Water lost this 8-13 against YFP, running that Vice Breach and Tejo that you were talking about, while as Sad dropped this to Burger Boys 13-6. And I think that's a scoreline that stands out more to me, running that Sova Breach with the Cypher Vans. Are you on red alert, thinking this is maybe a weaker map for Sad, considering how it went against Burger Boys?
I don't think so necessarily, but it's going to have to come down to a lot of heads-up play on both of the IGLs, being Zostal and Dip at the same time, because this is, as Ash mentioned, a little bit more old school going into like seeing Dip playing a Sova still on this map. There's not many teams or players in the first place that want to utilize Sova in the first place on a map like Lotus, but Dip seems to be very adamant and really has a strong position to really want to leverage how good Sova is for him on this map. I think that it comes down to those huge plays around Hunter's Furies, just as it has great vertical lines, just like a Breach. So if you're going to try to play your Sova more towards the B side on defense, then it allows for you to get that long range Sova ult on both extremities. And on your attack side, you could still have some good droning capabilities with the recon dart that allows you to have similar check marks as a Fade Eye would do here on your defaults on the attack. So yeah, it's going to have to come down to how Dip's going to call it, how Zostal, what they've learned playing against YFP yesterday, because YFP did such a great job on the macro side to pressure and lurk simultaneously that didn't allow here Blue Otter to have the best defense hold as possible and forced them on a lot of over rotates and opening a lot of gaps. And that's something here that SAD Esports could exploit.
Yeah, we'll see what the comps are and see what the weaknesses are, what the gaps are concerning the Zostal versus Dip. We're expecting Zostal to return on the Omen, Dip to be on the Sova, but you just never know at the end of the line. We're going to have one team go up 3-2, the other 2-3, and we're seeing some ISO. Okay, Ash, I'm locked in for Ferbsa.
Yeah, okay, I think this is going to be really interesting. This is a big shift in identity for what SAD Esports are running. I think I'm actually pretty scared for them. I feel like Ferbs is feeling really hot as far as just general firepower goes, but now you're sacrificing that Breach, which is so important on this map. You're gonna lack a lot more of that control, where they're looking to just take more of that aggression with Zerona on that Raze and running this double duelist. And it's gonna be a lot of pressure on Dip to provide the support from the team, which really doesn't shine as much on the Sova, which is a very pocket pick like Vans was talking about. And my worry with this is when we do look at them looking to fight forward, again, we talked about the re-clear utility that Blue Otter has in that Tejo and in that Breach, and even the Omen and honestly the Vice as well. They have a utility in spades with flashes and concusses and everything like that to take that space back.
For SAD Esports, though, it's going to be a very difficult start for Ferbs, because the ISO, for me, I see this as a very good wall that they can utilize to scale on the attack side. unless they want to try to throw the same type of aggression on A-side control at Rubble, it could maybe work out. But there's a lot of good stalls and counters under Bob and Zeke with that double initiator. So you're going to have to be smart to find your timings here for Ferbsa.
It's our last map of the day. We'll see who will be smiling after this series here on Lotus between Sad and Blue Otter. And to bring you through all the action, it's Marks and Tenrick.
An ambitious pick, to be kind, from a duelist who apparently wants to take over. Vancilli raises a good point that this is probably for a double-sided courtyard control, but an even better one that Blue Otter could very easily counter it. Mark, is this the move, or is Ferbsa a little cray-cray right now?
I'm team cray-cray. I think that this is going to be a fun one. I love it when we get to see these new types of agent compositions get utilized, but ultimately, while they do start off novel and you get to see them, you know, really shine in a couple of rounds, the team that is playing a little bit more meta, they adapt, and then you get to see the reason why the current composition is the meta for this round. I'm still excited to see, nevertheless, this is going to allow Ferbsa for a lot more survivability, and right off the bat, Dip is able to find one as it's heavily contested out B.
And they'll stack on side with Ferbsa as well. Benji was holding up early so that they could bait the swing for the ISO, which Blue Otter is going to try to avoid as much as possible until he's the only one left. They can't do that this time around, as they'll able to completely circumvent that B push and subsequently take care of the rest of the players. It'll be the opening pistol going Sad's way.
Yeah, and it just works out well for them. I mean, you know, we talked a big thing about utility and how the agents are going to go. Or, you know, we'll just go into a classic gunfight. Who cares about abilities? And Sad Esports wins the pistol out. So this is going to be a fun one, as now they're going to have the weapons necessary to go. I expect to see Ferbsa kind of being placed on a little bit of an island, given the fact that they do still have a raise as well. I imagine that that is going to be where a little bit more of the emphasis of utility is going to be comboed up with. I think it just comes down to how Ferbsa is going to be able to activate here. So Blue Otters, they already take a lot of space. We'll be able to scoop up this ultimate orb, as Benji is going to be the sole anchor onto C. This doesn't necessarily mean, though, that the Otters are going, because we do see Shondex exploring a little bit around B just in case as a way out.
Good try there on the blind to maybe parse out one, but nothing doing here for Blue Otter's bottom line. Tuzi is once again the first to get pressured, and a little late on the TP leads to the paint shells doing way too much damage for my liking. Still though, still alive, still with some support in Rip Benji holding down the line, who has again gotten in front of the problem way more than Ferbsa has in the past couple rounds in here and on Haven.
And it's still so slow. Like all that space that I was talking about Shondex taking is just completely gone. So now they have to commit here.
And we've got really nothing to work with except this C push this time around, and Sad should be able to nip that in the bud pretty quickly. Indeed they will. It'll be a flawless round two, in fact, with just about everybody getting in on the action. That's Shondex pretty close to a garden. That's, I believe, yeah, Benji is now halfway to the ult as well, so is Ferbsa, so.
Yeah.
Key fight taken there, nice and early.
On top of that too, Zeldris as well. I mean, I think that they've been funneling those ultimate orbs there, just understanding that that showstopper is going to be one of those huge tools. But like, look at this crossfire. It's so disgusting. Like, as soon as they walk in after the smoke, it's just a clean up from Sad Esports, and very clean. It looks like it's going to be an early util battle right outside, but Zeldris actually doesn't win that battle.
Zerona now on the raise is actually going to re-up and find a second one. Now he's got complete rubble control thanks to that sweep off of the Aftershock. When Blue Otter originally thought they could at least make their climb back, but now Shondex on low health, 4 members of SAD, and they are clamoring for this courtyard control, which is what we expect them to do a lot more now that the rifles are up and running.
I was about to say, I know how on the desk they were talking about, are we Team Zeldris or are we Team Ferbsa? Turns out we're Team Zerona with how this round went out. Zerona still able to find a couple of kills there. Completely shuts the door on Blue Otter. Now it's just weapons in Sad's hands as well. This is this 2v4 battle. Bob's still alive though, so anything is really possible. We still have plenty of thorns in Shondex's pocket just to slow things down as well.
Not going to utilize any of them though, instead just looking for the peak and the space down the hall. Won't be able to grab any. So it's left down to Bob. Who does
Okay.
find an early 2, making 3!
no,
Almost the
no.
flick off Ferbsa! Damage control of the Sentry to save this bonus round. And it would have, for clarity, it would have been Blue Water's round to begin with, but a clutch like that still deserves the high praise. Ferbsa
To be honest,
able to hold
I expected
on
more from him.
and give Sad that third round, but what a pop-off from Bob there.
Yeah, you know, Sad after this one, look at this clip right here. Like they're all just wiping their brows a little bit. This is getting a little bit too close, but thankfully we got the Ferb on our side, so everything should be handled. But yeah, a little too close for comfort here. It's going to be 3 rounds now for Sad, and this is where we start to see whether or not this composition is going to work out for them. Because at this point, once we... Oh, sorry. It's going to be the next round that really inflection point can kind of happen, because I think that Blue Water should have a better read as to what some of the weaknesses on how they're pushing in is. The question is whether or not they're able to make those adjustments without just kind of throwing their bodies at it.
Speaking of throwing their bodies at it, here comes Zeltris, just ramshackle right into sight to try to find an opening kill. Only gets the damage onto Benji. And so they'll try a different channel, one that's a little less populated. Onto the B site, B line, but Ferbs is now going to peek out the door with a lack of smoke and find 2 more. How he's on a roll. Exactly the kind of momentum this ISO pick was looking for early in this defense, and they have already started to profit off of heavily. Blue Water, they need to adapt quickly, otherwise this is a snowball.
At this point, it's almost turning into a snowman. It's going to be 4 in a row now. Flawless round at that, too. Sad Esports are definitely feeling nice and comfortable. Got both the ISO and the other ultimate online, too, so a couple of tools to play off of. Cypher, that's the name of that agent, but I really like the way that Ferbs is playing this ISO right now. We know how we can just let Ferbs do Ferbs things and everything will be fine. The ISO kit really allows that individual play to flourish. No longer are you as necessarily as squishy as another duelist agent, just simply because of those shields. And, you know, Ferbs is going to be good for 1 or 2, and that kit just kind of allows for the rest of the team to play off of those kills coming through.
Ferbs is already starting to adapt to how quickly Blue Water want to shift things. Aware of how much Sad is vying for rubble control, Blue Water, they haven't even really bothered with tipping up the lobby door, and so Ferbs has already rotated back through Waterfall to intercept the C-side push again. Which Blue Water are now questioning with all the Cypher util in tow.
And I think this is actually a good move. I don't think they should be going C again, because every single time it's been terrible for, what do you call it, Blue Water, if I'm just being honest. Sean Deck's going to get tagged out as well. But given the fact that it is the Vise and Sad are aware that that tends to be the agent that is lurking the most, we see Sad just go for a bit more of a spread out reposition. They don't know where Blue Water are, and they don't want to give up any of the space for free on this map.
The Sheer is really far up A lobby, and so with such a short time window, Blue Water are going to be committal a lot more loudly than they normally would. Sad Esports will get that telegraphed a little more quickly, and so we'll all head back over to C-site one more time. Into Zeldris' showstopper, immediately paranoid out. Armageddon on the backside, so Benji is forced to get on the site and try fighting it out. Zeldris now with the ultimate does find some sight lines, but no more. And Torona and Rip Benji are able to hold most of the site down. Still, members of Blue Water able to make headway and kills happen, leading to a 2v2. Tuzi stepping outside the waterfall, gets the early shoulder, faulty peek from Zeke. And so Zostal stands alone inside that smoke on site. Sad Esports still have a lot of re-clearing to do, and with the recon bolt not catching much, though, you've got to take it one at a time. Paranoia into the waterfall, though, and Dip has all the room in the world to peek, and then re-peek. It still fails, though. That's why you have a second available just in case. It'll be 5-0 now for Sad Esports.
Oh man, that should have been the round where we got to see the Otters go in. I like their execute moving in. They're able to take out enough defenders to make this worthwhile. But it simply just came down to a numbers game at the end. Great job coming in from Sad. I was not expecting the scoreline, if I'm being honest. As soon as we saw that kind of pop up there, I'm like, oh boy, let's strap in, everyone, because this one's going to be funky. But it still feels like Blue Waters, they don't have really a solution onto how they want to play this. They're losing too much on the entry there. And honestly, like, it feels like they're second guessing themselves. It doesn't, we're not seeing that level of confidence that we saw in the last map. They're just more on the scared side, understandably, because the Ferb is starting to activate. But you can't let that slow down. You got to stick to your game plan, and you got to keep things rolling forwards. Their composition is very explosive. It should be very move in, you know, dominate the site, take over all of this space, and then just get it for free and get that spike down nice and easy. But they're having troubles doing that because they're second guessing themselves, doubting themselves, and slowing down for just a second, which is not how this composition is supposed to be played.
They've been conditioned to be completely unaware of how much utility that SAD is going to throw at Rubble early on. And so when I normally would say Blue Water should be fighting for A control a lot more often, a lot more early, because truthfully, they should not be running into a brick wall this soundly. I agree. I think that the power that they hold in their composition is enough to break through A. But because they never know how much of a stack is there, it's alternating between Ferbsa throwing the wall down, or Dip being there with the dart, or neither of them being there and placing all of the responsibility on Zerona's paint shells alone, that they're really unsure of when to take this fight. And so the tempo control still retained by SAD here. But Blue Water will give it a shot this time, heading over through Rubble, and the salvos will not do enough stopping power. With the Sheriffs in hand, though, it's still so difficult to make any stoppage, and Shondex able to actually find that opener angle and off of the blind. Ferbsa gets a little bit too big for his britches too. Dip tries to punish it. Now Blue Water collapse on top of it. It's got to be a full recovery from one of these rifles, and Tuzi pressured out after only grabbing one. Still a TP in the pocket, but no more than that. Has to be perfect on the lineup, and Zeldris does have the off angle off of the head. 3v1 for Rip Benji, and Blue Water have been able to snatch around away after such amazing A control.
Man, it's almost like they heard what you were saying, Tenor.
They must have been.
Like,
no other
they gotta go away.
explanation.
They've got plenty of utility to go away. And exactly as you predicted, they completely stormed the gate there. Excellent coordination of the flashes to make sure they get those kills onto Ferbsa and friends. It's so good. Now look at this, the triple stack inside. Rip Benji sure has a rifle, but can't surely find 3 people.
First is easy on paper, but Zeldris with the crouch of the century to give a true thrifty round to Blue Water. With 3 standing, your way into the map has fully been established in one fell swoop. You have an alt cycle, you have an eco cycle, you have everything you could really ask for as Blue Water. And now you have the intimidation factor on Rubble. Look how much SAD is going to commit to this fight now.
Name a better duo than Zeldris and the crouch button. This is twice now. You know, the lineup should have been perfect, and then Zeldris just goes for the crouch and, oh, right over the head. Well, that's great, I guess. But yeah, exactly like you said. I mean, this time around, we're seeing SAD play a little bit more aggressive. Zerona has the showstopper, so just taking space outside of A. But still, this is going to be Blue Water just slowly making their way over to C, at least taking the space, hoping that they can catch one of the members of SAD off guard.
Oh, wow. Zerona, ballsy showstopper into a lobby that's already completely inoccupado.
My eyes are down.
But Blue Water, in the meantime, have taken all this space up C mound and unable to be watched. Zerona does use the showstopper to at least hold down the door to the lobby. But it's a raise kill for a raise kill, as Zeldris will fully open up C site with far more confidence than before. Steel Garden to seal the deal, perhaps a little too much invested, but Blue Water, this is round 7 after all, so again, they can get this old cycle going. Worthwhile if it means you can completely stumble the economy of SAD Esports, which Blue Water are getting closer and closer to doing.
And look at this Scooby-Doo maneuver going on. One door opens, and it doesn't matter because Blue Water are going out another. So far deep on the flank here, Zostal could be in an excellent position to cut them off and find this flank timing.
They've smoked out backside and actually paranoid it too for that extra pressure, so they're able to get in front of this quickly, but they have no idea how heavy the stack is. They know that a breach is there after shock on 1 for the early fight to be prevented, but now you can just spray through on top of the spike. Of course, Blue Water can do the very same thing and just run away as it goes. Zeldris up to 4! Zeldris almost with the ace, but instead Zerona only has to deal with a little bit of help from Zeke, but Zeke is too quick to the punch, and Blue Water escapes with 1 as their second round will be complete.
We're doing this for a
while. That was a crazy round as well. I mean, it just comes down to a spray down in the smokes. Can't even see your enemy, and you're just hoping for the best there. I think that Zostal was just a little bit too slow on that rotation around. The flank could have been instrumental at least evening the numbers and make it a lot easier than the situation that we had in front of us, where it was that down to the wire. Zeke down to just a sliver of health, but time thankfully on the side of the Otters as they find their second round. Still plenty of time to come back into this half. And once again, we're going for a very aggressive push onto this A site. Zerona respecting it, understanding how crazy things could be, is going to be backing off as that recon dart gets a lot of information.
Yeah, very respectful of how powerful this could be. Finally, Blue Water understand the assignment, and they're going to complete upon it. Zerona now suppressed, debatably. No, the drone actually didn't catch him, so he's able to launch these paint shells a lot earlier than they would want to, but Zeldris still can get this showstopper out as well and start parsing out the spaces. Blue Water make that headway onto A site. They will completely, as the smoke fades away, nice flick from Bob. Jeez, dude. Tuzi and Benji now stuck on high. Tuzi, nice flick himself to catch Bob. 2v3 on the retake, but from on high, from such a distance with such little util in your hands, Benji does have the cage and actually a wire on the tree to prevent the re-entry, or at least force the shooting upon it. Now the two-man push is so strong, Tuzi for 2! Zeldris in the 1v1 against Benji, that's on low health and inside the cage. Could guarantee the half of the spike, you will. Is he back up? Yes, he is, but Zeldris is all the way around! And it's perfect positioning to hand Blue Water a 3rd round, yet again, just barely.
I was about to say, a lot of these rounds are just down to the wire, down to these 1v1 scenarios where, you know, sure, we got all this preparation to get us to the position that we're in, but then it really just comes down to the individual intellects of these two players to try and outmatch each other. You know, basically a chess game. There isn't anything fancy here. It's just positioning and flick timing that is going to make sure that you win out those rounds. The Otters, 2 rounds away now from tying things up. Zeldris is starting to pop off, and I think that them sticking together and pushing in cohesively, using the utility, calming it down to work synergistically is how they're being successful. Zeldris, an instrumental pick onto Zerona. That loses all the space for SAD that they wanted to take unless they invest heavy numbers, which they do with their bodies.
And they have to be so much more forceful with it now, and so Blue Water have their pick of where they can head to. They're already sending Shondex out on a little recon mission to C-Mound. Seeing if anybody's getting a little greedy over there. No, SAD Esports, they're going for the full backseat default with this terrible buy that they've had to accumulate for themselves. Tuzi with the hero rifle at the time being, and they will continue the stack. They'll just rotate it after Blue Water. Go quiet here on A Rubble. Look how far back they're still staying, though. This stack all the way up on the lobby door. They're fully prepared for SAD as a stack to try to fight them on the door and want to prepare for that possibility before anything else. But there's 45 seconds left on the clock, and Dip now has a sight line again, could easily slow this down once or twice if he takes the right shot. And the recon dart too. A lot of ways for this Blue Water squad to mess this up at this point, but Rubble control taken back up. Zeldris with the peek, and so Zip, Dip, opportunity's gone. We'll have to duck back out. SAD Esports will have one more shot at this.
Yeah, I mean, SAD get the information, all the utility comes out, it's gonna be a nice and fast take. Zeldris does, you know, tanks out one of the salvo shots there.
They don't care.
Spike goes down, and this has been a really good post plant from Blue Water these past couple of rounds, and they got the weaponry to do it. Let's see how this goes.
Herbs are the first to engage with that armor. Can't find anything. Zeke is able to shred that down and then some. Now the rest of the push has far less strength behind it. Tuzi almost gets away with one more, but Zeldris is luckily quick enough. And so 4 standing for Blue Water's round. Definitely their strongest yet on the attack, and this late in the half, that is important.
Yeah, like, why we were seeing the success of SAD Esports earlier was just they were taking the fight to Blue Otter and then just kind of stomping them with all the utility that they've got, especially with Ferbs' kill kit. Except this time around, Blue Water, like, they're just biding their time a little bit and then being so explosive, playing the composition a lot more cohesively to what we expect. The composition thrives on chaos. It thrives on just blowing up so much of this space so that it's so easy for you to move in and isolate a couple of kills and take over the site. You get Zeldris fly in off of all of this utility. It's fantastic. And finally, we're getting to see Blue Otter really showcase what they're capable of, thanks to the fact that they're no longer just falling into the 1vx scenarios that SAD Esports were really capitalizing on. This is what I said with the beginning, with fun, nifty compositions. It starts out, you know, you're throwing your opponent off guard, but as soon as they're able to collect themselves, you start to really see why certain compositions are the meta on these maps.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot better composure from Blue Otter in this latter part of the half. No longer psyching themselves out on these takes, and whenever they do decide to fight Rubble, it's a lot more decisive. Great catch by Zeldris. Yeah, that was just a perfect punishment on what SAD assumes they could get away with. And that's kind of what we're seeing in this match on a higher level is sort of not just those isolated 1v1s, but moments in which you really catch those mistakes that put you between tier 2 and that next level that could take you to Ascension. This is a terrarium for where we see Challengers going in the future and where it may be stuck in the past, depending on who wins what. Shondex, nice hold to catch Zerona. And Blue Water have a whole lot of control of A main off of that immediately. SAD Esports, look at how heavily the stack is rotated already for this.
Yeah, but look at where Blue Water are positioned on the map.
Zeldris is all the way up at C.
They've got so much information. Dip going to be going through now, trying to find a little bit of timing. We'll do that onto just Bob. But it's okay because Blue Water should be able to get that spike down. We're in this now 4v4 scenario. What I'm curious about is seeing Dip or Ferbsa get a kill because that's going to be enough ultimate orbs to get some of them online. Let's see how Zeldris wants to play this. It's very far forwards at the moment.
That's going to be keen to Dip's Owl Drone, and Ergo is positioned from how he heard it procced. Knows he's close to that corner. And so they'll head back nice and close to the site so that SAD will be forced to do all the clearing themselves. Zeldris still with this corner peek. Nice shots to intimidate in the smoke. None on the backside though, so SAD have a pretty clean sight line. Tuzi catches Zoe, have to duck back to. Only one left on site actually. Huge paranoia to slow down, but SAD continues to clamor on the site. So good for the two. Dip steps on the waterfall and is alone now. After Benji was unfortunately unable to get anything done as well. Blue Water, impeccable management, despite the fact that they continue getting spaced out. They remained in control all along and now have 5 rounds for themselves.
Yeah, it's all tied up now. 5 for SAD, now 5 for Blue Water. And that one just came down to map control coming in from Blue Water. Like, even if they really wanted to, I feel like they could have pressured in onto that B side as well. It was just the fact that Zerona was so far deep onto C. They just played off of that one. Sure, Bob gets caught off guard there because of Dip, but it's okay because, you know, this post plant was just immaculate. So still able to find 2 was the key in finding this. SAD Esports, though, they've got 5 ultimates now. Haven't been really using those ones. We talk about the ultimate cycling. Blue Water miles ahead of them currently. And so we want to see them, maybe not this round, but they should start using those ultimates to secure some of these rounds back into their advantage because they're letting this one slip so quickly.
And with another open C site, Blue Water look to continue cashing in on what they now see as their personal playground. Either of these sites could be theirs. It's just about what they know they can guarantee, and once again, they can guarantee a safe C. Check Shondex on this lurk, though. The Owl Drone will catch. But such a heavy stack from SAD. Do they choose to engage it? No. They'll just vuln Sean and head back out over to the A-Lane? I mean, with the Sheriffs, yeah, they would rather stack on the gamble and then again just play for the retake. Benji is going to solo take this Rolling Thunder as the spike gets planted on C site. Just a guarantee, and this late in the half, you can get away with it.
I mean, SAD just looked confused as to what the play was going. They completely misread what was going on. They decided to spread themselves out onto that A site, make sure that they control the space over there, and nobody was home at all. Now Zeldris going in for the fight with Blast Pass.
Ow, the double. But only still good to catch one. SAD still have a
no way.
monster stack, but Zoe somehow catches one before the swing even really starts, and no one able to find much more from there. Ferbs on the solo swing just in time to catch one, but SAD will have 5 ultimates, 5 rifles, and 1 more round to tie things up here in the defensive half before we swap sides. Blue Water maintain the streak and the ult bank too.
Oh, last round and a half. It's been a while since SAD have found a round. They still have their 5 ultimates here. They got to empty their pockets now, Tedrek, because you can't carry that forwards into the second half. Still waiting to see that kill contract come out from Ferbsa, but hasn't really found an opportunity, really. And it feels like a lot of the opportunities just simply did not exist. Blue Waters, after that single timeout, it's like they shook their demons away and are looking so good in this half. Already, Zeldris taking a lot of space, and the showstopper now online.
There's the Armageddon on the inside of the baby door as the kill contract goes through from Ferbsa. A lot of ults getting tossed out. Ferbsa will end up winning that solo 1v1, but is now stuck. He won it in time. Now he's going to get pressured on the door. Zostal already catching the shield. They know his position, but Ferbsa can still win the fight. And now Dip is here to help out as well. SAD have the crowd, have the advantage, and only Zostal remains. So ultimately, you had more than enough to make this round work. It just took a while to get to that point where you were allowed to use it all. And so we will end this half tied up, wondering where the hell we go from here as the sides swap.
I mean, when we talk about the ultimate game, it's one of those things, right, where if you've ever played any of those old school JRPGs, it's like, oh, nice, I found a potion. this was going to live in my bag forever because I'm too scared to use it because I don't want to run out of potions. It kind of felt like SAD Esports were falling into that trap where they had those ultimates for so long, couldn't quite find the perfect opportunity to use them, so it's okay, we'll save them for next round. And that really wasn't what needed to happen. Just, you know, this round was really just a press the ultimate button and we're gonna win everything, but we could have seen them maybe space things out a little bit and potentially take the lead, but now we end in our 6-6 half. So I do imagine, based off the composition, SAD Esports are going to be a little bit stronger onto this attack. It's going to be very aggressive. But speaking of aggressive, Zeldris having a bit of a committal issue, as it doesn't matter. The rest of the squad's here.
One enemy remaining.
Zeldris, I think, didn't want to run into his own paint shells. I think that's from the looks of it. But he was like, wait, I threw that too well. I don't have to fight this more.
Don't you hate it when you just throw the paint shells so well that you're like, hold on a bit, I'm good actually.
I run into that problem where I'm too good at the game all the time.
That's the worst.
That being said, great defensive take. This is the kind of aggression we were expecting from SAD's composition on Rubble, but if Blue feel that confident on Mound in rounds like that, who knows where they can end up. I mean, I could see that bottlenecking through B main with that kind of confidence.
Yep. Like, that was what's so funny. We talked a lot about the desk, about how that's going to be the Mound comp. You know, that's where they're going to be wanting to strike and all that type of stuff. And it felt like, honestly, it was more so outside of A. That's where they wanted to take the fight. And this time around, well, Blue Waters, they just completely fight in Mound and win out just simply based off of utility. So excellent job from the Otters. Zeldris still flying ahead right now, 16 kills on the board. As the Blue Otters are going exploring outside of this A and C site. The crunch, though, from SAD is focused here on to B. Thankfully, we'll be able to stall things out. An excellent shot from Zeldris to at least drop one.
Good sense from Ferbsa to have that shield on to be the one to take that fight, but the paint shells will intimidate that back out, and Ferbsa now alone with the spike has to force the rest of the stack to either come to him or just try and find a fight somewhere else. Zeldris is going to do the job for him and find an impeccable flick to it. And now Bob with a Marshal of her own is going to get in on the action too. 2 kills for her as well. Blue Otter, yet again, it's another follow-up round to a pistol that has a cry, but a far cry from a win from the upsetting team.
Once again, we're seeing Bob flex that duelist potential. Specifically just has the Marshal in hand. I'm pretty sure got a no-scope on that one. Meanwhile, on the other side, Zeldris as well with the Marshal, finding so much value. It was just a sniper round, and I think that this is really where we get to see these duelists truly shine on the Blue Water squad. It feels like they're just a bunch of snipers, and well, this last round, if that's any indication, showcases just how powerful that long-range battle is going to be when the Blue Waters have the right weaponry. Not the judge.
Yeah. If there's one way to do it. Util dumping. Of course you're not ready for it. 2. Would have been 3 if not for the ISO. Hey, that's why Ferbsa picked it.
Give yourself just that extra chance there, but still, that's both duelists down for SAD. If their plan of attack was let Ferbsa do Ferbsa things and then we can support the Rays to be able to frag out, well, both of those options have really been taken away. Thankfully, there is still some utility available. It's not a lot, but SAD might be able to find something if they're able to leverage the fact that they have better weaponry on this round. It's still going to be a tough one, though, Tenrek.
Yeah, I mean, Blue manages so much at this point. And they have so much certainty as to where the push is. Yeah, look at Dip, dude. He looks like his very first girl just asked him out on a date. Just completely frozen. Benji, one swing to go for it, and it's Blue's bonus 9-6 here on the defense, and they look to shape a streak from here. No sign of stopping, no sign of really any, I mean, proper push from SAD so far. Unfortunately, they just don't have the ways to really check it. They just have to fight, and so you catch him off guard once, you're kind of toast.
Yeah, and on top of that too, like, we see the Blue Waters, they go for they change it up. They aren't just sticking to the exact same defense every single time. That time we got to see a little bit more aggression coming out of Zostal, and it pays off in dividends because SAD simply weren't expecting it. An Armageddon right off the bat from SAD. from Blue Otters to really deter them. That'll allow for a lot of this space to be taken, but already Shondex just holding it down for the underground.
Wow, okay, amazing shots from Shondex despite the save, but still only good for 2. Zerona is able to at least climb back on and waste enough time thanks to the paranoia to get inside the shear. Zerona, nice boom bot to flush out Zostal as well. Instead of taking over the site, but still not the kill feed, and so Zerona's the only one that actually ends up getting kills this round. Blue Otter hold on to 2. And are 3 rounds away from going for that 3-2 record. This Lotus defense looks clean as a whistle.
That's such an interesting call coming out from Blue Water, but it works out so well for them because sure, the Armageddon comes down. I'm like, okay, that's a little bit interesting, but I guess given the fact that you expect that you told them to come out there, it more or less guarantees that they have to back off of that one, and it's just a funnel. And Shondex, so sharp with it. As soon as that wall comes up, it's okay. 2 of them are already down. The flood through will happen. That is going to be inevitable, but at that point, you've gotten 2, so you should be more than good. Zeldris, so aware of what's going on, is going to be backing up here. Frubsa getting a little bit more antsy this time, looking to be a little bit more aggro, but still no one is found from Blue Waters just quite yet.
And Zeldris is just going to choose to peek this out anyway. Blue Water understand if they lose control of this, it's going to be a lot harder to fight it back, especially if Zeldris is committed to the operator anyway. Sheer activated early, and Zeldris misses his shot. Zerona picks up the frag. And that should open up the C site for Sad. This is the one they clearly want to take so confidently because of that ISO. You cannot as easily op out that mound because of that guaranteed shield. And now the lurk from Benji also finding purchase.
Shondex.
But Shondex's shots have just been so damn good on this site so far. And he's still working around for a limited time until Ferbsa can finally take care of that. But still, Sad are so stuck at the moment, debatably, because Bobsta is able to deal with 2 on the site. Now Zostal, arguably crunched for a moment, cannot TP all the way to back hall and fully reset this position for a 1v1 Omen v Omen. 2Z on 32 HP and no util in the bank. He's got to get in front, and Zostal shuts that down at the drop of a hat. 11-6 for Blue Water as the streak continues.
Keep in mind, once again, Sad, they got 5 rounds in a row when this map started out. Since then, they have only been able to get 1, while the Blue Waters have gotten 11. That has got to be tough. And I feel like, once again, we're falling back into the same traps right now. Look at the ultimates that are coming online. They've got a lot to work off of, but are waiting for those perfect opportunities to make it happen. This is a very interesting composition. The synergy doesn't really feel ironed out right now. And so they're waiting for a go signal from other members, but they're not giving each other those go buttons. And so as a result, we see that they're just stalled out. They can't really get anything online. Meanwhile, Blue Otter, so confident in this certain playstyle. They understand how this composition works, and it's very clearly showing in the scoreboard.
It's just so tough seeing Sad unable to just step off of each other, because that's normally what they're so good at. 2Z and Zerona in particular do such an incredible job of just boxing out all the space that Ferbsa doesn't want to check, so that Sad is able to just bulldoze a site. And this double duelist comp just doesn't facilitate that nearly as well. I understand Ferbsa is on fire right now. I understand he might feel he has to carry a little extra weight due to the fact that Blue Otter was starting to outskill them so heavily on the previous map. And I also understand the usage you get out of that wall and that shield on both sides of the map for the fights. The issue is you've lost so much by picking this instead of another intel agent. And Blue Otter, they're able to just work and rework these nooks and crannies so much more effectively and fight with so much more confidence, not for the bigger spaces, but for the smaller spaces that they're able to 1v1 anyway because they're just better.
Yeah, it's honestly just good stuff coming out from the Otters right now. And Zeldris also has this operator back in hand, as deadly as ever. Showstopper available for Zerona. I'm hoping to see it this round. I want to see that opening up. I want to see that a bit more confidence being utilized by the Otters. Okay, kill contract active.
That's a start. Ferbsa, call, caught.
Good.
Won that duel. That's what you do against the operator. But again, you only do that every time you get the ultimate. So Ferbsa wants to farm another one. That's an opening kill on to Zeke to continue this A presence and hopefully A domination. But for how long? Shondex is right in front of this baby door and could break it open at any second with the help of this Tejo salvo to start this fight at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, Zostal with this smoke in front of the stairs has kept Sad condensed onto this courtyard and will force the intel draw. a second smoke to try to stall, but now Zerona is going to get a little braver, so the paranoia has to be brought out as well. And Zoe's about to get dragged through the mud. Time is up this time for Blue Water, and SAD Esports have enough space, enough util, enough ultimates, enough ISO kills to get a 4v2 post plan on A site.
And that's a smart way to play that ISO. Just use the ultimate, take out one of the most annoying agents on the other side, that being Zeldris, especially too, given the fact that you've got that bonus shield. And so that operator will not be able to find a single kill. You force the swap of weaponry. And now it's 2v3 on this retake. 2v4, sorry.
Dip and Ferb set insanely low. That's why they're the ones sitting in trees. So Zerona can confidently stand still and hold down that choke line. Easy first. A lot was relying on Bob getting hers. Unfortunately, she could not. Shondex will wait for the peak, at least get one, but SAD Esports will finally break the streak and do still, in fact, have some ultimates. Hey, hold on a second. We're cooking now.
Okay. We're at least seeing a little bit more of that shuffle around. It's not just holding all 5 in our pocket here. Once again, that ISO kill contract was a very important step to being able to move in here. Somehow Ferbsa gets a second as well. Despite the fact that the Breach was just watching their body. Unbelievable stuff coming out from the Ferbsa. But still, 7-11. Blue Water on the precipice of winning this matchup. It's going to be up to SAD now to continue to press that advantage forwards. Looks like they're going to be going in A. They've had the most success here, and I think that they think that this is the move for the squad. A very cheeky hold by Zostal, though, and actually gets spotted out and taken out on the other side of the wall.
And now Zerona going to try to access the back as well. Shondex can't hold the fight. Complete control over A again, and SAD is barely even on it. This is the kind of open fights they were looking for, where they're able to kind of pull out of that microscope that these individual players have been fumbling on. Now the individual swings for Blue Water are a lot more manageable and a lot scarier for Blue, which is why, for the first time, we'll see them actually back out and hand the round over. That's why Bench is here. Go for the lurk, look for a little something extra. Bob keen for it. So it'll be an 11-8 game now here with both teams pretty much fully kitted. A lot of creativity available for the tail end of this match to figure out who is going to go 3-2 and who is going to go 2-3. And again, going into this next round of the Swiss, where the worst seeds from those two records will have to battle each other. You know, every round really does count at the moment for these teams vying for that slightly higher spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like ranked, right? Like, depending on how many wins you got, how many losses you get matched up with opponents who are at similar levels. Honestly, that's the easiest way to explain the Swiss format to people who aren't really familiar with it compared to the round robin. But still, I really feel like SAD are starting to get their step back in here. The key to success right now is them really pushing up onto A. Notice how there isn't a lot of Otter utility being tossed out anymore to change that or slow them down. Looks like this time that will be the case. Curious to see how SAD decide to operate off of it. I imagine they're just going to wait that one out and then choose to re-engage afterwards, because already Zeldris spots out the push.
Already they'll try to dissuade it. Blue Water, heavier backseat on the C site. This is always where Shondex likes to lie on this. Sitting on top of that sheer, just waiting for someone from SAD to get the party started. His shots have decided so many of the openings to Blue Water's rounds, have given them so many openings into wins that they now are trying to desperately cling to, as SAD Esports look to go for another power struggle. Here's the sweep down the sheer. Oh. Stands alone on it, and an Armageddon down the mount. Onto the salvos as well. Zerona's completely flushed away, and that is the spike on an island here on C-Site. SAD's already run away. They would rather just fight it out. That's in fact what they're gonna prio, but Zeldris with the trade-off after the Rolling Thunder goes through. And SAD have to completely reconvene at the convention center, that is Spawn, and use that Omen TP to go for the reset, but Zostal is here early. A whiff! That dip we'll let him know about. SAD now in the 3v3 on the post plan. Another chance at redemption here for the losing squad.
I was going to say, it's such a fun idea. Just send Zerona in there. You know you've got this Omen ultimate to pick it up if necessary. Be the Guardian activated here. Zeldris still on the back line, deals with dip.
Still on the warpath back. Tuzi now has to double back, and Blue Water still overwhelming control of the map. Into the corner, Bobsta. Too stuck. Zeldris, though, on the warpath to an ace. Ferbsa can shut that down, too. Can he shut down Shondex as well? Already the tap, you gotta swing it. And Shondex manages it. 4 rounds to run with as Blue Water attempts to get their 3rd win in the Swiss, an inch ahead here in the tail end of Challengers.
Seems like it's the Crouch Club now. A little bit of an interesting idea for Ferbsa. Crouch walking around the corner. Meanwhile, Shondex crouched as well. Just like, what are the chances? Well, chances are really high, but I love this util crunch coming in. That's the Taehoe alone finding so much value. Unfortunately, Zeke gets off that Rolling Thunder, makes it a little bit more difficult here, as well as Zeldris being so good on the back line, but the Ferb comes alive yet again. Ferb's able to be good for 2, makes it almost possible in that 1v1 scenario, but the Otters still alive right now. Paintshell's getting tossed out early. The Cheer doing such a good job at isolating the push in from SAD Esports. Kill contract now available. Let's see how Ferbsa uses it.
He's just gonna try and proc this sheer. There we go. Long road ahead here for SAD. Benji, heavy hold on the lobby. Ready to execute this push towards A at a moment's notice. And meanwhile, Zoe back on this judge again that was so useful before.
Not like this. Tedrick, I can see the vision right now. I can see the judge coming alive yet again.
They're still only prepared for 1 fight. Are you prepared for this judge? As Dip continues to make this noise over on C site, keeping 3 members of Blue Waters occupied as well. And Zorona does find Zoe. A mad dash to A site after the Cypher ult goes through to confirm Blue's position. Dip, gorgeous hit onto Zeldris. And now locked into 1v1 against Shondex. Will he win that as well? Hey, okay, all right, yeah, at that point. Still though, sights taken, spikes taken, 3v2 against Blue Otter, still disadvantageous towards them. Zeke walks right through the one-way, and Benji's able to wrap that up really easily. Oh, Shondex, you just missed it. Oh, it was crazy. They came on an A side and everything. Do you hold on to this rifle?
Sand, you know?
I mean, do you just run away from this, or do you go for it? You have the flash. But your eco's not great.
I think we're going to see the attempt here. I mean, Shondex has been shooting off pretty effectively to at least get a couple of ultimate orbs, but Zorona shuts that one down. So SAD now 3 opportunities to tie this one up and force yet another overtime on map number 3.
So yeah, it'll be a full reset from Blue Water this time around, and well warranted, as they'll just try to continue to cut back on what SAD can bring into the final bit of this game. Yeah, that shot was dirty. And then Dip said, hold on, I lost all my juju for this round. My fault. So here SAD Esports gonna try to go for the C push on Mound again now that they know that the gun diff isn't there, no operator to really worry about. So they'll just go for that raw push, not have to spend too much. And yet Zoe still cracks open one, just walks away from the fight with Zorona until he's able to deal with that at least. And so SAD Esports, first threat gone, and that's your controller too, so it should be pretty easy from here as long as you get onto site, which SAD Esports is pretty good at doing that these days.
Yeah, and on top of that too, Ferbsa goes down, just not able to uncharacteristically find those kills. Thankfully, Zorona's still on this duelist role as well. Very low HP, still just looking for something, but they've been able to find Zeke, so it's looking like SAD might be able to get double digits.
That's another shot from Bob on the Sheriff. Can't land another dink before having to duck back. Atuzi is up to sight. That's where Bob will strike again, but that'll be the last kill that Blue Water is able to inch in this round. Still only 2 players standing for SAD, so they've got to stay on their toes in these last 2 match points.
I feel like I shouldn't say anything anymore if Bob is still active on the field, because when it comes down to those like clutch moments, those very uncomfortable, oh yeah, here comes SAD, they're gonna just dominate everything. Suddenly Bob finds like 2 or 3 kills and it's like, oh, hold on a second, I might have spoken way too soon. But talking about just like consistency, Bob is such a consistent player on Blue Water. She is really holding it down in some of these more tense moments and usually going to always be good for 1, if not 2. And that is really helping this Blue Water stay alive in this actual matchup. Tuzi stuck, able to escape, thankfully. But SAD Esports The door is more or less shut on them before they can even move in on C.
Blue Water is really throwing a lot at this, and not until Sad is trying to peek it. I'm amazed that Sad still decided to peek this after the util dump, but Zeke and Shondex are able to do all of the work they need to make that fight work. I am amazed it did. SAD Esports, they looked like they were so confident rolling back in, and then Blue Water, they still get the shots down. Now you have all the support you need over on Mound here against Benji in the 1v3. Ults as well, but all you need is a high-low. Blue Water, they will have 3 rounds of collateral to deal with. Lotus is theirs, as is the match. They walk into the remainder of the Swiss 3-2.
And big congratulations to Blue Otter. Like we said, this was that matchup where both these teams are coming in 2-2. 2 wins, 2 losses. Really middle of the pack. And now we get to see that spacing out the echelon between the two, where we get Blue Water going into the upper echelon, while unfortunately Sad go down to the bottom. However, it's still all good because both these teams, this was a great performance coming out from them. I do think that especially on map number 3, the weird composition that Sad decided to go for, it didn't look necessarily as ironed out as Blue Otter's composition, which tends to be a little bit more meta. And as soon as we saw Blue Water, they took that time out, they slowed things down, went, okay, what are we doing here? What is this composition really good at? Which is just util dumping and flooding in. They just immediately figured it out, and it looked like the team completely flipped. We saw both these teams be so dominant in the series on one of these maps, and you know what? This last one, it was so strange seeing it go back and forth between the blue squads. It was getting confusing watching.
Yeah, it was really quite the back and forth, but at the end of the day, it is Blue Water to just barely inch out that victory and make their way to the top of the pack. They are 1 win away from making playoffs. We'll see how they're feeling in this interview after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Honestly, probably me, man. I got the most plants by far, so maybe that one's on me.
Might have been me, honestly. I mean, it could be anyone on our team. Everybody on our team just might be in the zone. We might go for some kills and forget that we have the spike. Happens.
I'd say it's got to be Darkest. Darkest always carries the spike. He's always telling me before on the pre-round, he's like, yo, give me the bomb, give me the bomb, give me the bomb. So if anyone has the bomb, it's definitely Darkest.
And we lost because we didn't plant the bomb. It would have to be Knights because he was too focused on trying to kill everybody.
That would never happen because I always have the spike, and I just feel like that would not happen. But if that was gonna happen, I feel like I have to blame Karn, like Dodo Nut, because she never gets the spike, so she would be like, why do I have this? And then just not know. So I'll blame her.
Either me or Seven, Johan. So it's gonna be either our faults. And yeah, time runs out, it's one of our faults, and our coach will chew us out for it. So yeah.
Dip, probably. I mean, he's done it before once, so.
It has to be Caillou. Maybe he was too busy like calling a pre-round or something. He just forgot to pick up the bomb or something, but it has to be Caillou planting the bomb there.
That's on me. As an IGL, I gotta make sure the bomb is given to the right person. Usually I do carry the bomb, but like sometimes someone will be one off the alt orb or something, so I kind of want to be able to tell them like, hey, take the bomb. So yeah, I'll take the blame for that.
Probably Alum, our duelist player.
I'm gonna say Jakey for sure. Either Jakey or myself. That would be the most realistic answer.
Oh, I mean 100% it's Steven. You would not believe this, but this has actually happened. Let's just say a miscommunication happened. Hypothetically, it was someone on the team. If I had to pick someone, it might be Smiley, but it doesn't have to be him. It could have been anybody. Let's just say they didn't choose the defuse when they needed one off of ult, and I called like, yo, defuse for ult, and then I like went and did my own thing because I just assumed the bomb would get defused. No, it's all good. Hasn't happened in a match yet. Let's go.
I never doubted, not once. Ash, give me a high five. We got
Let's
it.
go.
Our
Let's
prediction.
go.
Let's go. Let's go. This guy in the middle, what does he know? But he's so, like the tears forming in your eyes, Vans.
No, that's me just trying not to cough.
Okay, well, I gotta go to you first because you said you wanted to yap first. We have to talk about the leaders on these two teams, Dip versus Zolstol on the IGLing.
Yeah, and especially going into this game when you had SAD Esports come out with a brand new composition, kind of pulling the T1 versus DRX over in APAC, and then you saw a great result coming out from T1, but this is still SAD Esports. It's not T1. You tried to come out with an ace under your sleeve, but then unfortunately, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap card and the calling out of Zolstol. Because on the defensive side, I was mentioning, it was going to be a struggle from SAD Esports on the defensive side first, and they should get a lot of good value on their attack. But Zolstol was doing such a great job calling and finding great timings to not allow SAD Esports to really set up outside of their spawn. Especially when you look at the pistol round on that push and the amount of times that they pulled out the judge at the corner of the A side that really had SAD Esports play a very slow tempo and waste a lot of util before they were able to get into sights towards the end. So again, amazing calling coming out from Zolstol in the end. And unfortunately for SAD Esports, that's a tough loss.
Yeah, Ash, we were kind of prepping for the Ferbsa versus Zeldris Raze matchup, and not that I'm ever sad to see more than one duelist, but I wonder if overcooking on that comp hurt SAD in the end, kind of like what Vance said, but it was a different look that Blue Water wanted to try after the recent loss.
Yeah, it's definitely a different approach to Lotus, right? And you know, you can take that inspiration that Vance had been talking about with that composition, but then you also have to play to its strengths a little bit. We saw the momentum that SAD Esports was able to build off really early on when we first started out on this map, having that 5-0 lead. But once Blue Water kind of realized, okay, you know, we're giving up a lot of this control a bit early on. Sure, SAD are fighting forward for it, but we have a lot more utility to re-clear. They would hold on to a little bit more from that when it came down to like the fault lines, the flashes coming out from Zeke, and just try and actually take that space back. So they would allow SAD to take that rubble control and invest a lot of that utility, whether it was the paranoias, the dart that was going through paired with, you know, the raise nade for rubble, and then those vulnerable combinations as well. But then once they use all of that, they don't really have much gas left into the tank, especially if Tuzi's throwing out that paranoia too. They had no flashes to kind of counter flash when Blue Otter were looking to reclaim that space.
Yeah, SAD did a great job also just being very aggressive to shut down one area right away. We were just talking about before, how do you learn from your loss against YFP when we mentioned YFP are really good on like the 4-1 setups on extremities and then having lurks going in through B side or whatnot. So when you're coming out super aggressive from the very beginning and you're actually able to shut down at least one of the big lanes of the 3-sided map, that's a great start for SAD Esports to take control of the defensive side.
And looking at Shondex, who had an important job of how do you hold back the tidal wave that is Zerona, Ferbsa, and the entire army of SAD Esports, Ash, and we thought Shondex did an incredible job.
Yeah, Shondex did really well with that, even on the attacking side as well. You can see some of those like anchor positions that he's able to play for himself, a nice little 2-piece there on that C side, making it really daunting to actually take a lot of that space and having a lot of impact here on this Sentinel. And it was a lot of taking control alongside the rest of his team, and I think that was really well played across each map in this series coming out from Shondex. So you got to give him big kudos because not as flashy of a player, but the impact was much needed for a lot of these rounds.
It was just a fun duelist matchup. We went all the way to our deciding map, and I swear that last one was going to go into OT, and you guys really thought so too with how well SAD was clutching up in the end, but just tripped over their laces. But we kind of have to compare and contrast different apples to apples, at least the different duelists that we had in Zeldris versus Zerona, Vans, because Zerona had to step up big as the race for this final map.
Yeah, for sure. And unfortunately, they fell short as well for SAD Esports. And I think it's all, again, on the defensive side of, Ash was mentioned before for Shondex, but also all on Zeldris on the other side. Because the way that they were controlling towards that C mount and the comp here that came out from SAD Esports didn't allow for them to take extra mount control because of the lack of utility to stall them. It was very well understood by SAD Esports that they could really contest that spot and play behind that mound and let the enemies come towards them and win all those fights. So Zeldris, great job on that side. Zerona, it was tough as well. We haven't seen too much raise coming out from Zerona in the first place when they're just playing more of a support role over the cast in general, because that usually is the responsibility of Herbsa. So it was a nice try. Again, it's a trump card that you're trying to bring out. You're trying to throw your opponents for a loop, and you're trying to get closer to qualify. So you have to pull something that's going to be unexpected. But unfortunately here, maybe it's the lack of getting real reps into it to get the real value out of this proposition for SAD Esports. And it was well taken advantage of by Blue Otter.
And Blue Otter will be now 3-2 in the standings. SAD Esports 2-3, one step closer to being relegated, one step closer to playoffs. Depends on if the glass is half full or not, but I do have an interviewee ready for me, and I get to talk to the one and only Zeldris from Blue Otter. Hello! Holy cow, what a series! What a win! How you holding up?
I'm doing good. I'm excited that we were able to bring it home today. You know, bounce back from yesterday, so it was nice.
Yeah, and I got to applaud your resilience, not only from bouncing back yesterday, but also even after map 1. So what was said after map 1 to lock in after that?
It was just kind of like lock in. I mean, we made a bad play, I would say, like that sucked. You know, it was kind of like an unfortunate round. We didn't think that was going to happen. And we just kind of like, just reset, literally just reset, full reset the whole game. And that's what happened. We just bounced back, played our own game.
Yeah, you just kind of had to forget the scoreline and just move forward. I like that. And the whole team fought for this win, but you especially, man, you went crazy on Haven. What's it been like integrating with this team?
It's been a bit different for sure. I took a bit of a break from competing for like a month or two, but now I'm back. It was nice. They slotted me in perfectly, filled me in on everything I needed to know, and it's been a little bumpy, but more so smooth, I would say, with the team.
Yeah, and what sort of impact have you had on the team in terms of how did they have to adjust to you, or you adjust to them, or was it just easy slot and you're just kind of already with them and it's fine?
I'd say I have quite of an aggressive play style, and I think from last year, kind of like I didn't play as aggressive as I could have, you know, and then this year, sorry, I'm like spacing out. I mean,
you're good.
I just like brained out. Just repeat the question,
aggressive.
bro. I just brained out.
You're
out.
aggressive.
Sorry,
And no, yeah, you're good. So you were telling me you were playing. I was asking you about the impact and integrating with your team, and you said that you were.
Oh yeah.
Wanted to play more
I'm just
aggressive.
super aggressive. Yeah, I'm just super aggressive, and I think it's maybe adapting to that. The stat factor, pretty much. I'm just super aggressive, and I have a lot of comms.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys were so hyped after just evening out that series and how well you did on Haven in that Jet matchup. But being 3-2 now in the standings, you're one step closer to playoffs. What does this team need to do to iron out and clutch that spot?
I'd say just honestly reminding ourselves how good we are and playing with tons of confidence. I feel like obviously in the first map we kind of lacked it, but I think just keeping that mentality that we're, you know, a good team and we play off each other really well and just pushing forward with that, you know?
Yeah, and I'm sure once you lock in and you get confident, everyone else is going to be confident, and it's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. It was awesome watching you guys. Congratulations, and thank you for the interview.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks. All right, that was Zeldris. Oh my God, me the same, because that map 3 was insane, man, and just in good spirits, and for them to forget that map 1 even happened and move forward, like that takes a lot of maturity.
You could definitely tell that he was still zoned in that game, still trying to digest it because of that. Again, it was a thrashing that they received on that first map. So it took a lot, and especially coming in from the first map, and then you gain so much confidence starting on the defensive side on Haven, and then you're dropping bombs on a Jet being super aggressive. And he talked about that hyper aggression. We saw that from A, B to C from all 3 maps. And thankfully, it got a lot of fruition out of the last 2, thanks to also the great calling support out of Blue Otter.
And just to kind of go over our bracket once again, Ash, there wasn't too much on the line, you know, being 3-2, 2-3, but there were other matches going on off stream, and NBG falling short to SRB and other results like that. It's a long and tough road ahead to go to playoffs.
Yeah, it really is. And we still even have like the last match of today is still going on right now. That's Core and Trust and Plug currently 1-1 live on our off stream. And I'm sure some watch partiers like tuning into that there as well. And just seeing who again is going to get a little one bit closer to playoffs and who is going to have to fight a little bit harder to keep themselves from elimination. And when we look towards tomorrow's matches, it gets really exciting, right? Because we've got 2 qualification matches in TSM versus YFP and M80 versus Cuber. Both those matches will be on stream tomorrow, which I think is going to be just insane watches. Those are going to be ones that you definitely want to tune into. And then unfortunately, we are going to be saying goodbye to another team tomorrow as well in Burger Boys and Ambrosia.
Yeah, we had to say goodbye to Hakiki Mori today, which was so sad after just how great of an interview they gave us yesterday and just how excited they were for this opportunity. But other teams on the chopping block, as Ash said, Nightblood Gaming, SAD Esports, Winthrop, Ambrosia, Burger Boys are just one loss away from being out, but also a few teams on the cusp of qualifying. So, you know, glass half full. We got TSM, M80, YFP, Cube. There's a ton of teams at 3 wins, actually, and it's just going to be too long to list them off. But it's been so fun hanging out with everyone today, and we hope that you're going to drop a follow on all our socials, and because it's, you know, been just tons of shenanigans hanging out with Vance and Ash here.
What do you mean?
And
I was
all
so
of
serious.
you. I know you were totally there the whole time and not coughing, but we hope that he will be healed. We hope that everyone will be tuning in for our next matches coming up soon, because we're going to be promoting some to playoffs and some to relegation. Hope to see you all again soon, and have a good night.
Bye. Find Kaiser before these stars get all activated. Oh, no, here comes the swing. Infiltrator's got it. Never mind. Okay, so now you just have a 2-stack coming from Art that MORI still might not expect, but the whole gang's here on site. Ollie close quarters. He will force one. And Infiltrator to swing back from the steps. It all worked perfectly for Winthrop in the end. Ghost fighting for his life. Can't for much longer. There's the 4 that Infiltrator.
Here you see Hakiki Mori adapt and expect an A hit. They already used the stealth drone to re-clear it, but they're still so certain that Winthrop are going there. And it isn't until now that we're seeing this rotation. Moves might actually get caught out. Ghost just a little bit wiser. Somehow moves Winthrop.
The ultimate sewer rat. He's slippery too until Gopher can finalize it. But the damage is...
all the different angles. The sonic sensors are placed up. The B site is nice and insulated. This time, SAD not getting a little bit too rambunctious. Very Mesh now going to be deployed here. Blue Water want to move in.
Huge grab nade that Benji is forced to kind of skirt, and the salvos will continue to pressure him away. But Zerona, on the other side of that, is completely unfazed. It can now just spam into this grab that is thrown so beautifully. Ferbs is the one to fully complete, though, with a 3K on that showstopper. And he'll be the only...
herself, which actually works out perfectly for Ferbs to find just the rundown on the clock. Zeldris, though, takes out Benji. Going back for more here. It's already not looking good. Bob already on the back line somehow. SAD are on the point, but it doesn't matter. The Blue Waters are swarming and closing in fast.
Looks like they want to fight a little heavier to guarantee a worse post plant for him, and Zerona doing a good job of holding it down on site, but Zeldris is reinvaded. With that operator, he is looking good as ever. You don't need to do that, dude. You have 4 players on your team right now. Again, tough to fight it. You've got to take it slow. Now comes the reaction on the angle. Early blind to stuff him out again. Blue Water can cycle this pretty well. There's that hero rifle from Dip, but immediately the Armageddon on top of the Link. And Shondex is able to hold down all those opening angles that they're forced into. Wow. From there, it's a full-blown fight. Kaiser.